All right. As you might be able to figure out by reading the title and looking at this video right here, we're doing a review of the Primary Arms 1X compact prism scope with ACSS Cyclops reticle. All right, so as you can see, it's already on the carbine there. I just wanted to get out the box because a lot of people do like to see the box. In some of my other reviews, I do talk about packaging, showing how a company cares for their product. Primary Arms packaging, I like that vacuum seal. It's just kind of nice, just kind of fun. All your basic information is on the box, obviously. Talking about the reticle itself and yeah, just general information about it. This is obviously black. They did come out with a flat dark earth model as well. In the box you get your what is it called, instruction manual. There's a cleaning cloth in there. Comes with a little thing of thread locker. Just your basic stuff in there. So looking at that scope there, okay, so for me the biggest advantage, or let me take a step back there. So what is that prism scope? So this versus a red dot, this does have batteries, but it does not need the batteries, okay? I talked about in my modernizing your MSR video about this carbine here, the problems I had with my red dot. Granted, it wasn't an aim point or another much more expensive model, but even those models can run out of batteries over time. Here's the battery compartment on this one, just a normal C2032 battery in there. But basically, I ran out of batteries on my Bushnell TR or TRS 25, whatever it is. Granted, it ran out of batteries at a little local match. Wasn't that huge of a deal, but it still ran out of batteries. Prism scope, you do not run out of batteries. It's basically like any other scope, but you don't need batteries. We'll probably be able to get a better look at the reticle when we go to the range. The light in here in the shop is not the best to try to get the backlighting needed to see the reticle through there. So we'll just talk about the features a little bit. I'm going to readjust things and we'll get a little bit closer look. So taking a little bit closer look at things here. This is the standard mount that it comes with. It's interchangeable with the, I think it's the T1 standard mounts like used on Aimpoint and those other big name brands. If you wanted to change the mount for a quick detach, this is obviously not a quick detach. This is a standard Picatinny bolt-on mount. Still have the backup sight on the back there. I've already set this up for me, for the eye relief for me. What's nice with these, the eye relief isn't as much of a big deal because it's kind of like a hybrid red dot, obviously not a magnified scope, but it's kind of easier to get things adjusted. Obviously, these flip caps on here are pretty simple ones. You can see I just slid it off with just a little bit of hand pressure. Underneath on our eyepiece end, we can adjust the focus, okay? Right now this is all the way in, or is it all the way out? Hang on. Why isn't this adjusting? I don't have a good grip on it. Anyway, you can adjust that for your eye focus. I just can't get a good grip on it right now while I'm behind the camera here. I think they do have a, is this threaded? Yeah, this is threaded on the front end here. So you can put on a flash, or yeah, I think they call it a flash device, or it's like a mesh screen that screws in there so you can't get a lens flare on the front. That's more of a actual tactical thing than really necessary, but it's kind of cool. Maybe I'll throw one on just for fun. As I already said, here's our battery compartment with also our red dot, or not really a red dot, but our illumination adjustment. Level 0, okay, so there's off, 0 through 11, okay? Everything's got to go to 11 always. If you don't know the reference to going to 11, you need to go watch Spinal Tap, or I'm sorry, this is Spinal Tap, and then you'll always get the reference of things going to 11. Anyway, continuing on, the adjustments, okay, windage and elevation, kind of normal. I do like how they're threaded together here, okay, so it's hard to lose them, or harder to lose them. It does make them kind of annoying to unscrew, honestly. And would you look at that? That just broke as I was unscrewing it. Well then, so be it. Normal adjustments within there, not finger adjustments, but with the end of a bullet or screwdriver or anything like that, making your simple quick click adjustments. This isn't something that you would be making windage adjustments on in the field. You know, think of it like a red dot, but you know, kind of like a scope at the same time. So I'm going to be cutting off this. That's kind of lame, but at the same time, I'm not too worried about it at the end of the day. So now we'll cut to the range, and we'll be zeroing this. This has already been laser bore sighted, but you still got to do your due diligence and actually sight it in on the range. And we'll talk about the targets we'll be using to zero it and go from there. All right, so we're doing our sighting in of the primary arms Cyclops now at the range. I've got the target board very close right now. This was laser bore sighted, but I always do what I call walk back tuning from the archery world, where we start close and then walk back, where we're actually going to move the target further away and bring our zero in tighter. I'm going to show you a close-up of the target we're using after the standard big target. I mean, you can probably see the bullseye from here a little bit, and then that's the target on the left. The target on the right, I'll show you the more detailed example. So I've just got my dual 10 rounders right here with just 3 rounds in each. I like to do 3-shot groups for zeroing, and we'll go from there. So the other thing I'm going to do too is I don't have a bipod set up on this particular gun, and this is not a free float setup. So any torque or any pressure I put on the handguard or grip could or will affect the barrel and thus the accuracy. So when I'm bench testing non-free float barrels, I always actually like to brace on the magazine or the magazine well or somewhere up in here that isn't going to negatively affect our ability to zero or get very accurate. So we will get started. My point of aim is dead center on the target on the left. We'll see what happens. From here, we're pretty dang close. So I just want to try that again and see what it looks like again. All right. I've got my Ruger 1022 next to me with a magnified scope on it. It's not that far away, but I really just want to see what we're doing here, what I'm looking at. Our group is overall pretty good, pretty tight in there. We just need to move it over to the left a little bit. So that's where we're adjusting our windage. I'm just going to use the tip of one of these mag releases here, so I got to move it left. Let's start with a few clicks. And remember, we already lost our tether caps on here. Oh well. And then it's got to move up just a little bit. I'm only going to give it about 2 clicks just because it's not that low. So what I'm going to do is, now you kind of know my process. I'm going to do a couple more 3-round groups, and then we'll look at the 50-yard zeroing target close up. All right, so we're set up. The target's down right there. All right, 25 yards. This target, sorry, the lighting isn't the best. This target is designed for, as it says at the top, 50-yard zero at 25 yards. So basically we have our height over bore compensated for. So you aim at the color here, okay, aiming for the red and green in the middle, but your bullets should be impacting right around here. So we'll be doing this, so this optic will be zeroed for 50 yards. That is exactly what the Cyclops optic is designed for. If you look at the Primary Arms website or the box or anything, the tip of the chevron, so that triangle in the middle, the tip of that and the rest of the reticle is designed for a 50-yard zero with the 223-556 round. So that's exactly what we're doing here. So again, I'm doing my 3-shot groups. I'll do this in real time and then speed it up in editing. I'll be checking between my magnified optic and taking my shots here with the non-magnified optic. So we'll get started. So here we have the target. I got that group, as you can see, in the gray zone, a flyer or misadjustment up there, but basically the majority of them are right in that bottom gray zone, definitely all within the bottom hatched circle. So that would put them all in the top solid circle at 50 yards. So that's exactly what we need. This isn't as accurate as a rifle as my competition gun, and that's fine. That's not the point of this gun. The point of this gun is an SHTF gun. Short little carbine, do all, safety, etc. But yeah, that's more than acceptable accuracy at 50 yards for this. So I'm just going to put up some more targets like that, move the target back to 50 yards, and just spend the rest of my afternoon here just doing some plinking with my 22 and just double check the accuracy of this carbine here. All right, so we're back from the range after sighting in and testing. Giving a test to the Primary Arms Cyclops here. Overall, I like it a lot. Very simple. That was the whole point. This is essentially the optic that a lot of people have been waiting for. One of the only other major manufacturers that makes something similar to this is Vortex. I think it's the Spitfire, Spit Venom, Venom Spitter, something combination of those words. I don't remember exactly, but that's also a very good scope, very similar price point. But the advantages that the Primary Arms has over that Vortex is that ACSS reticle that has those auto-ranging features built into it with those little dashes below your chevron for ranging human-sized targets, and then the chevron as opposed to a dot. The biggest thing for me is not having to rely on the batteries. I like to have minimal moving parts. I like to have minimal failure points. and the battery is just another thing that can go wrong. Again, this does have a battery in it, but you do not need it. In my other scope, in my competition scope, that if you look back in March, I think is when we cited that in and talked about that. I don't think I've used the illumination on that in competition at all, even in the middle of the day. I didn't use the illumination on this today, citing it in. It's nice, it works, but it's not really necessary. Pretty much the only downfall right now is that those tethers for the caps broke, as you saw just a couple of minutes ago in the video when I was just unscrewing it. That was kind of ridiculous, honestly, but at the same time, those tethers, it's not a make or break for me. I've never had an optic that had tethers on it in the first place, and I don't foresee that being an issue, not having them on there. So overall, as you saw in those targets, this delivered very much acceptable, if not above average accuracy for this rifle, consistency. You know, it does exactly what it needs to do. I would recommend this optic for this intended purpose, that small carbine, SHTF, something hitting the fan, right? That's what that stands for, type of rifle. Iraq veteran 8888 calls it the Life and Liberty rifle. You know, whatever you want to call it, that survival rifle, that dual utility rifle. This, you know, is good for human-sized target or deer-sized target in a survival type of situation. The accuracy of a rifle like this is just fine out to 100, 200, 300 yards for that intended size of a target. I really don't have any complaints. You can see other reviews of this for durability. People have beat the hell out of these things, and they've just stayed on zero. Maybe the scratches on the surface, but functionally stays perfect. I don't do torture tests myself. I don't have enough money to throw around at things that might break, but I trust those other people who have done torture tests on that. So overall, I'm giving this 9.9 stars just because those tethers broke. But again, I'm not worrying about that too much. Overall, I'd highly recommend this again for that dual small rifle. It would be really good competition optic for a PCC, a pistol caliber carbine, where the ranges aren't that far. You've always got that reticle. It does not need a dot. Do not need to rely on those batteries. A lot of good uses for it, and simple, good price point. Grab one if you're thinking about it. Oh, another advantage, did not mention that before. A lot of people say it but don't necessarily explain what it is. A optic like this is perfect for people who have astigmatism. What astigmatism is, if you don't know and you don't want to Google it, is basically an irregular shape to your eyeball itself that makes it harder to focus. People with a severe astigmatism can't wear contacts for that reason. They need the lens outside of their eye to help correct that vision. So this is a similar concept to that. With a red dot, people with astigmatism will have a lot of star bursting and have trouble focusing on that dot, whereas that there's not an issue there. So I have a mild astigmatism, so this is great for me. I'm not relying on batteries. Fits exactly what I wanted, and can't go wrong with primary arms. I've got almost every rifle I have has a primary arms optic on it. Anyway, that's it. That's my review and kind of range report on the primary arms ACSS Cyclops. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, you can ask in the comments below or email me directly. And hope you learned something. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.